questions to keep myself aligned. Waste away the hours doing what I should.
Hi, I'm Kelly Bentley with my co-host Ayse Hogan. This is Christine Line, Andrew Baker. Welcome to Reflections, where today we're talking about big pharma versus alternative, because everything has its place. So, big topic.
Big topic, huge topic, especially nowadays with all of there's some controversy going on out there. And I think that in a lot of ways, people think that they can't do both. Mm-hmm. Right? That there's no room in their lives to have that holistic spiritual side as well as dealing with, conventional general practitioners, surgeons, that kind of thing. And there is. Mm-hmm. There is totally.
There is.
Absolutely.
And, just you had an example today. You were telling about your son.
Yeah, so, and again, we get this question all the time, and you don't have to pick one or the other, but I really think that there's a place for both, and I kind of like to think of it as when there's an acute problem, like an acute injury, like my son broke his leg this week. He is in a full leg cast, spiral fracture in his tibia. That's not a holistic type of experience.
So you can bring him over here.
We're not going to do some lavender on that, but we go to the Children's Hospital. We get him looked after. We get him in a cast. We meet with the surgeon and that, and then we go home and we start to incorporate the holistic side of things. So really paying attention to, okay, what am I fueling his body with now?
Right.
Can we add some lavender to help calm him down? Can what other supplements and things can I give him to support healthy bone growth and stuff like that? And the other thing is, like, when we have chronic issues, I think that's where holistic is really beneficial, right? Because chronic issues have manifested in our bodies significantly over emotional issues, food issues.
Well, and that's just it. And Kelly and I talk about this a lot because it's from everything affects us energetically. And what I think that when I try and tell my clients, this is the analogy that I use, so bear with me for 1 second here. So those hoarders? We see those houses full of, they have their stuff, all the way, they can't move, it's not productive. So if you took that exact same image and just kind of went, boom, right here.
Yeah.
And it's like, with all the negativity that happens in our lifetime, sometimes we're involved with negative people, we have issues with our job, with our work, dysfunctional family, that kind of thing, and we're ill. And when we get sick, we're putting in medications into our body. We have surgeries. We put anesthetics and stuff into our body. And those are so bad for, energy blockages. So now if you leave all that untreated, it's like you become this hoarder of energy blocks inside your body. And going to the doctor and getting more medication is not going to help this.
It's just going to numb it more, right? And you become so out of touch with your body and what your body needs.
And it's not even reasonable to, in that particular case, it's not reasonable to go to the traditional medical establishment and say, help me for this kind of problem. I think that's, as people get better at pulling away from black and white thinking and black and white solutions, this or that, and start being more comfortable with the gray zone, which is ever expanding and getting huge, then they can start differentiating and deciding for themselves, I wouldn't go to a mechanic, if, for my bicycle.
Right?
It's
That's a good analogy, yes.
You know what? The engine on this is broken. What the hell is this guy talking about? It's like it's asking something unreasonable by virtue of the nature of the system.
Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes Western medicine is a good place to start. I deal with a lot of, we specialize in weight loss in my clinic, in my, my studio, and a lot of people come in with anxiety, depression, as most of society is, and I would say half the people that come in probably on some level of antidepressant or anti-anxiety medication, and sometimes that's like a starting place for them, and then as they start to exercise and eat differently and they start to feel how different their body feels, you can sort of move away from that. They become less reliant on that as they become whole and they become more in touch with what their body truly needs, and then you transition into a whole healthy place. So,
with me and Kelly, what we're working on with that is that when people are in that place, we're actually doing referrals back and forth, and with another person on our team as well, because it's just like a lot of trainers are having this kind of issue because you don't know what somebody went through in their life. They just coming to you and they want to train, and all of a sudden you find that they're depressed, or they have anxiety, or they have PTSD, or they have this, or they have that, and it's like not one person can deal with all of that. I don't think that there's any doctor, healer, whatever, which
No.
I hate using the word healer because people heal themselves. We just
Totally,
help them
yeah.
facilitate that. That can handle all of that. You need to have a team together. You need to have this, like, I'll help you with that part so that they'll be able to do what you need them to do or what they need to do. You'll be able to do that for them, right? And
This
be
is
able to
this is
guide
the
them.
new paradigm.
Yeah, and I think
That's
more.
coming
I think
in
we are seeing more
fast.
doctors even coming into this,
Yes.
where we have a great number of doctors and specialists in my studio that come in, and it is pretty cool to see the two starting to merge, where they are starting to practice healthy life, healthy mindfulness and strategies and things like that, and starting to refer that to their patients. So I think that hopefully we'll start to see more of a merge instead of a. We still have the big pharma industries pushing the drugs, which is not ultimately what we want. But,
No, I mean, it makes you wonder. Like, I don't want to get into conspiracy theories, but
Yeah.
it makes you wonder how. But you know what? At the end of the day, we say, is there a cure for cancer and no one's telling us? Is there this for diabetes and no one's telling us? But there can't be, because you can't do it with pills.
I think the
You
worst.
need to do the energy work. Like, you need to
Yeah.
clear the clutter. It has to happen.
Yeah, it's so
Because
much. It's so much bigger than
Because
taking
at
a
the
pill.
basics
Yeah.
of all
Yeah.
things, we are energy.
Yeah.
Same as this table. We're the same thing, right? We're made of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't deal with it energetically, as well as maybe we're adding some conventional medications and stuff and all
Mm-hmm.
methods into it, maybe they can really complement each other to
Yeah.
help that person do that. Because when things start to manifest, it's manifesting in depression.
Mm-hmm.
We know that when that hoarding starts to manifest and it hasn't been untreated, it's depression, it's anxiety, it's stress, it's fibromyalgia, it's cancer.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
all of these things are coming out in different ways. Aches and pains in your body that you can't even explain why. You don't remember hurting yourself, but everything starts to hurt, right? So all of these things are just like energy blocks stuck throughout your body. So how is a pill going to solve that?
The worst part about the pharmaceuticals right now, I think, especially with that kind of a situation, is that 99% of them are getting prescribed to treat a symptom.
Right.
And so we're going around treating all these symptoms, not us, but I mean, people are going around treating all these symptoms and they're not looking for the root cause. And holistic doesn't mean all natural. Like, the word holistic just means characterizing all parts of something as a whole.
Yeah.
Which I think is hugely important to remember.
And I think on the bright side, there are people within the pharmaceutical world who are waking up.
Yes,
Yeah.
there are.
So, like, it's happening everywhere.
Yes.
If you had a person in the nutraceutical world or the holistic world who was very, very egoic and very mindy and not a lot of heart, you'd see bad things happen there too. So it's contingent.
Which I am seeing. Like, there are some spiritual and, let's say, holistic healers, what people think of as holistic and alternative healers, that don't even refer to each other.
And this is what this
It's
little
like,
light
I
bulb
can
moment.
do it all.
Yeah.
And no, you can't.
We got to work together.
Yeah.
We do need to work together and figure out when it's right to refer out and who to refer to. And at different points in people's lives, they are awake to different things, as you know, like they're ready for different things, right? And so you're sort of just trying to like open the doors and let them find their own way.
So at the end of the day, if we are all, what's the word I want to use? We're all practitioners in our way, whether we're doing it conventionally, holistically, spiritually.
We're guides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The person that we're working on is the one that we should all care about. So
Totally.
whatever works for them. Does it need to be energetic? Does it need to be spiritual? Does it need to be conventional? Does it need to be alternative? What do they need? Not what do we need?
Yeah.
I think you're hitting on something really major here
Yeah.
about judgment. Taking the judgment out of the scenario and being like, wow, you are in really dire straits. I'm glad you're on your antidepressant.
Yeah.
Or you might be dead. So that's awesome
Yeah.
that's here. So let's keep moving and let's start exploring some additional
Yeah, how
things.
can we bring
Like,
some
it just, it's so easy to get so judgy about all this stuff and black and white and all of blah, blah, blah. So taking that out, I think, helps the person in front of you so much. When they don't feel like, oh, I'm going to go to my healer and have to
Yeah.
confess, like, okay, I'm on Xanax. Don't judge me. Don't hate.
It is funny when people like
It's okay.
They feel really bad admitting that.
Totally.
Right? But it's like we live in this world of like information overload and distraction, disease, and all of these things. So it is really tough to sort of keep up with the status quo
Well,
and the
and
internal pressure that we create
Right.
for
And when I
ourselves.
tell my clients, for instance, they come in and they go, I'm on this, or I'm on Cipralex, or I'm on whatever it is that they're on, first thing I say is, don't stop. You'll
Yeah.
stop when you're ready.
You'll stop when you're ready.
Yeah.
You know, and as we go through this,
Yeah.
you might find that instead of, and I don't know how these dosages come, so I'm just making stuff up now, but instead of being on 50 milligrams, maybe you'll drop it down to 25 after a while, and maybe you'll stop it to 10, or maybe you'll keep taking it. But I'm not going to tell you to stop.
Maybe
I'm
it's
just
a
gonna-
useful tool, you know, in the moment as they're going through their journey
It
towards.
totally can be.
Yeah.
You said something earlier too, and I think that this is key. Is, you know, one of our mottos is always like, everything you need is already inside. Your body already knows.
Yes.
You already know what you need to heal yourself, but we've got like this tissue in our ears, and we're wearing these blinders, and we can't listen or hear or feel our
Well,
bodies
plus don't
anymore.
forget, we've got that
That blockage,
the
right?
blockages, which
Yeah.
stops us from really hearing ourselves.
Yeah. So it is
Yeah.
pretty cool to see as those pieces sort of get lifted and people work through that all of a sudden they become more in touch with that intuitive, you know, spirit or whatever.
And that's just it. I never thought that, you know, there is that, you know, that inner voice that we all hear, right? So that one that speaks really quietly and probably only says it once or twice. And then we've got the ego that's like loud and judgy and you know, telling us. And I thought there's no place for ego. And I used to do these like release ego meditations and stuff, right? And then it wasn't until like I have to say about 3 weeks ago where I sat down and I was like, there is a place for ego, because if we always listen to our our inside voice, we would never make a mistake.
we would never grow.
We would never learn anything, and we're supposed to have freedom of choice. And I think that that's where ego comes in. I think what the problem is that we have to know when to listen, when it's important to listen to our inner voice. You know, when it's screaming, "Get out!" or you know,
Yeah.
"You can't be here,"
Because
or
it's making us sicker and it's making us
Right.
feel worse. And
you need to listen.
yeah. And likewise, I think that we should also communicate to our clients that, you know, and I had this conversation with someone last week, was, you know, I'm going to make some recommendations. We're going to work through this together, but you should also be questioning what I tell you. If it doesn't feel right, if you don't
Yeah.
feel well, if you
If
don't
it
feel
doesn't
like you're
resonate.
thriving, you don't have good energy, then it's not working. And,
Yeah.
and we need to work together. So it really is like a collaborative approach versus here's, you know, what you're going to do. Here's your list of foods to eat or things to do, and then everything's going to be fine. Because I think people are so overwhelmed with, you know, they read that book or they saw that doctor or that specialist, and they've been told ABC, you know, this is exactly what you need to do, and yet their body is rejecting it, their heart is rejecting it,
Yeah.
but they're forcing themselves to go through these steps because that's what they think they're supposed to do. So, you know, how can we get more people to be aware of that?
That's such a beautiful thing. Like, that's so new paradigm, I think, versus kind of the old. The old versus the old being, you know, the doctor in the white coat being like a god figure and saying, here you go, that's that, don't question. But now it's much more about collaboration and team.
An individual.
Yeah.
Everyone is so different and their challenges are different. And even if it's the same challenge, the root cause is different often. And
And the path to healing might be different.
Yeah.
You
For
want
different
to
people.
educate people. Like I was doing simple thing, taking some sort of shake supplements, right? So I took a few different kinds, not being educated, ending up with like crazy migraines. They're supposed to be healthy, all this kind of stuff, you know, and everybody's recommending them, and I've got these crazy migraines. Soy.
doesn't work
How
for
long
you.
have we been told that soy is really great for us? It's
Yeah.
full of estrogen. So it's like I'm getting these stupid, crazy migraines that are putting me into bed for 2 days. And all I did was have 3 shakes.
Yeah.
After 3 shakes, I'm in bed for 2 days. Like, that's just not right.
Because you were thinking that you were doing something good versus feeling.
Yeah.
Being
Exactly.
like, body, does this jibe with you, or no? Okay, no. We're gonna put that away.
And it's
Bring on the tequila. Woo!
So now it's like I found one that I like and that I've used. And now I recommend it to my clients. But when I do, it's always like,
it may not be right for you.
don't just
How
say
does-
yes
how
to
does
me
it
and have,
feel?
let's fill out the paperwork for you to get it delivered to your house. It's go online, read about it, research it, take it to your
Try
doctor,
it.
take it to your naturopath,
Yeah.
Try it.
research it. If it feels right, if it feels good for you, let's do it.
Perfect.
And I know, Kelly, like you and I do the metabolic typing. And,
Yeah.
you know, one thing that we always talk about, because I get a lot of couples that come in as well. And, you know, you get a husband and wife, and the wife is so excited. Her husband has finally come on board. And I tell them right off the bat, like, your food might be his poison.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
Because they go home with this way that they're going to live their lives. And then they're just like, you know, not necessarily meshing, and so it's kind of interesting and fun to sort of discover how
Yeah.
one person thrives and what the other person needs to thrive as well.
Yeah.
It might be totally different things,
Mm-hmm.
or they might be similar.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's kind of cool.
Which
Yeah.
hopefully they are, and you don't have to buy refrigerators.
Yeah. But it's so funny how often that happens, right? People are like, you have to do this, this, and this, and this, and it's like that doesn't work for that person. And it could be our husband or
Why
wife
doesn't
or
it feel
child or
good?
whatever. And so a lot of times we really need to do that inventory, you know?
Yeah.
So just because this is working for me, this is working for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
But this might not work for me next year at the same time. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
we're going through different things.
This is the kind of stuff that needs to be taught in schools.
Yeah.
Imagine if we were learning this, like
Oh
how
no!
to
In
feel.
schools now they're learning sex ed. That's so much more important.
Yeah, true. Never
Because
mind.
we really need to know about that. We want our
Yeah.
children to know about that. That's much more important than learning about
Versus
this kind of stuff.
feeling
yeah.
your way to your own
Yeah.
versus feeling your way to your own personal truth.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
That's overrated.
No.
So last season. Like, wow.
Let's not learn how to tell time or cursive writing or anything. We don't need that. We don't even need to know how to spell. We just, but we need to know about sex. That's really important.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish that would be amazing for people to have this kind of knowledge in schools.
Yeah, I'm sure
But I
it's
think that they
coming.
will, and I think it's coming. And I
Yeah.
think that, I've always, when I grew up, you always heard about, the millennium or the something's coming
Yeah.
or the, all these different things are coming. And I was always like, ugh, whatever, something's always coming. And lately, I've been hearing, the shift.
Yes.
There's this energy shift coming. And when I first heard this, I thought, oh, here we go again. Another shift. It's like another something, right? But honestly,
What's
I'm seeing
with all
it
the
happening.
shifts?
I'm seeing it happening.
Yeah.
People are shifting. Their thoughts are changing.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a good thing.
It is.
I mean, it's a good thing because it's almost like they're thinking it's a new way of thinking, but really, it's a really
It's the
Original-
oldest
it's the
way.
new way of thinking. We're
It's
getting
like-
back to ourselves.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
again, I always talk about the shamans and 30,000 years ago, and this is how we did things. And we are all shaman, and right down to our DNA, because that's just how we lived our lives all over the world at that time.
Mm-hmm.
With no communication and no Google, how are they doing it over there? It's just like this is how it was. So now, there's a lot of healings that people are using, spiritual healings that are super old and ancient.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of it, the herbal remedies and stuff, again, from a long time
Yeah.
ago. And so people are looking at these things now and going, oh, well, I'm doing this new thing. And it's not new. It's not new.
When you really break things down, there's some foundational things that we always come back to. But yeah, for sure. So this is kind of interesting. So everybody here is a practitioner in their own sort. So how the information overload that our clients get, right? And as practitioners, we also get information overload, right? Like there's all this education and all this stuff that's coming at us. So what are some of the things that you guys are doing to sort of determine what's right for you as in your practices for your clients? Where do you pull?
So my clients, I have decided that I am not an island unto myself. So I've always sort of worked on my own and thought that this is not the way to do this, right? So I find that there are other paths that people want to take that I am not certified in helping them in. So Kelly is actually, with her company, practice is coming into the Chakra House of Healing. So solely you and the Chakra House of Healing are merging in sorts. And then you've got, we've got another person that's, a professional football player that's also very much into nutrition and training and cleansing and that's also joining us. And it's just bringing people together to make it like you want to be able to offer everything. You want to be able to say, listen, like if you have this, and this. Now that's not to say somebody comes in with a back problem or whatever. We're going to send them to a chiropractor, right? There's still things that you need to do. You still need the conveniences of what we actually still have in the system and probably will have for a very long time. But just as we accept them and say, okay, we know you're there and yeah, you have your place and you guys do great work, but so do we. So do we. And why don't we work together rather than that's just hocus pocus and that's just
Exactly.
this and that, right? Like it's been around for centuries. There's got to be some kind of validity to it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are some people out there, I guess, that cut the heads off chickens and whatever.
My
but
way or
we
the
don't
highway.
talk about them.
I was actually reading.
I only do it once a month. Okay, it's not weird. All right.
I was actually like, I want to go back to that pharma thing because that's what we started this whole
Yeah.
topic on. We and I have a couple of cancer survivors, and unfortunately, one person recently has been re-diagnosed, and it's tough. But there's a great book out there. Are we allowed to talk about books here?
Of course, we can talk about whatever we want. This is
Mind
good.
Over Medicine. I forget who the author is. Mind Over Medicine. Have you guys read it?
No.
It's fantastic. She was a gynecologist. She had her own practice. And she just got so physically ill. Like, she was so Western, everything, scientific. And she ended up, like in a terrible relationship, overworked, had a successful practice, yet she was physically ill, like extremely ill.
Wake up call.
And she had this great wake up call. She took herself out of the practice, ended up healing herself using a lot of a mix of holistic, alternative healing and some Western, and now has gone back and started an integrative practice. So she's still a gynecologist. She's brought the two together. She talks a lot in this book about the placebo effect and the nocebo effect over just what you believe,
Right.
and where your head's at and where your heart's at and how that affects your healing. And this is in people who have had knee and hip replacements, open heart surgery, cancer patients. So it is quite fascinating when we see the power that we have in healing ourselves based on what we believe is happening to us.
It's true. That is so true.
Yeah,
The
it's
mind has
huge.
so much
How
power.
many times have you seen someone who's been diagnosed with cancer and they're perfectly healthy, like they look healthy, they go to their doctors, they find out they're diagnosed with cancer, and then within 2 weeks they're like,
I can't do anything.
They look like they've
Yeah.
lost all this weight, they've aged, and all this stuff, and you're like, that's because you got a piece of information.
You can change everything physically with your mind.
Well, and that's what's in this book. She talks about medical students when they're studying, and they're studying the different diseases and things like that, and they're learning of all the different symptoms. They'll actually start to manifest. There's actually a term for it. I don't know what it was.
Oh my
but they start to
God.
actually manifest the symptoms of the diseases that they're studying because their mind starts playing tricks on them, like, oh, there's something wrong with my throat. It must be this. And they start, and it's crazy. Really how powerful it is. So she references
That
a lot of
moves
these
right
really
into
cool.
like the whole law of attraction, right? Because thoughts are things, and if you start thinking that that's what I have, then that's what you're gonna get.
Yeah. You get what you think about whether you want it or not.
It's like it's the upside and the downside of the mental levels of the mind.
Yeah.
And how much they can just clamp down on things and run the show.
Yeah.
You're like,
And so from an
oh,
energy
brutal.
perspective, what do you have to add to that when people get in that state of mind? Do you feel like, is that a blockage issue? Like,
It's a
what is
blockage
going on
issue,
there?
and I do talk to them about the law of attraction. I talk about how thoughts are things, right? So, for instance, if someone and I bring it to, I always try and put things into verbiage that people can really get, right? So that everybody can understand. And you sit there and go, okay. So people, for instance, that have a lot of financial strain, right? So they're like always struggling with money, right? So they sit there and they always go, I never can pay my bills. I hope I can pay my bills. I'm not going to be able to pay this month. Am I always going to be like this? No, I can't go out with my friends because I can't afford to buy a glass of wine, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. And that was just, you're bringing that because scarcity brings scarcity. The more that you say that, the more that you stay that way, right? So it's just a matter of changing the way that you think. It doesn't mean start dreaming about winning the lottery, because that's not a realistic thing, right? But sitting there and thinking about abundance and how you're going to be better, and seeing things from the end, and seeing things the way that you want them to be in your life. That one day I am going to be like this, or tomorrow I'm going to be like this, or this is how I am already. Even though you're not, see yourself that way. Change your self-talk. Change the way you talk to yourself, what you say about yourself. When you look in the mirror, see beyond what you see in the mirror.
Affirmations and
Like if you saw, like in my bedroom is hilarious, because if you go into my bedroom, I've got a great big mirror, and on this one mirror, on the one whole side is, I am loyal, I am a good friend, my practice will be very successful, I got a great ass, like all this kind of stuff, right? Like I write that all on there.
That's in my room too. That's like it's only that.
What, my ass?
my ass is awesome.
like, yeah, it is. And off I go about my
That's
day.
right. So
But
it's just like all
Christine,
these
you had that on the
affirmations.
wall too.
We do.
Right? Yeah.
We have a whole wall of that.
And it's a great thing because it's about 6 months ago, and his friends, because my friends come and they'll put sticky notes on there and say like Jody loves you and all this kind of stuff when they like come into my room. I'll go in and there's all these like new notes on there, and I sit there and I go, okay, I should take this down now, and I go to like remove a sticky note and I'm like,
No.
that's just gonna stay there. Because, now I have, because I do my clinic is in my home, and sometimes, as we do the show in the clinic, people use my bedroom for changing clothes. I'm thinking, well, I wonder what they're going to think about all my little sticky notes on there. I'm like,
Guaranteed they leave happier than in their new outfit.
You think like each one embodies energy, and all of the
Totally.
sticky notes that you would be getting, they would be so positive and love filled, and only good things would be there.
right?
That's a
And this
beautiful
is
thing.
actually a really cool topic because it's I have a 90-day nutrition and lifestyle program. That's a course online, and this is exactly one of the things that I have people work through is writing their affirmations. And in the beginning, everyone's like so like rigid, like they're like one line, like I am beautiful. Okay, but then I have them continue to expand on it, and they talk about what is it that makes me beautiful. I have a great personality. People love
And
to
not
be
just-
around me. I'm
Yeah,
funny.
and not just think about
Yeah.
that. Think about your professional life, your
Yeah.
personal life, your friends, like how you want to be perceived. Like I do neurolinguistic
Programming.
Programming.
NLP.
Wow. And at the end of the day, one of the treatments is the circle of excellence, right? And it's, having that circle, and you put in that circle all the things that you want to be, like almost making a soup of all the characteristics that you want to be. And then stepping into that soup and just absorbing all of that energy. And this is practices that they use in big sales companies and big marketing firms and whatever as they're training their staff.
And athletes too.
And athletes as well. So
Yeah.
the circle of excellence is like a great thing. So this is basically, that's an imaginary circle of excellence. I've got it like plastered on my mirror in my room. But it's just, you got to feel good about
Yeah.
yourself. And it's okay. And it just, I always tell people too, this is not something that happens overnight. So let's say you say, this always happens to me, right? Something always happens to me. I always go, just rewind that. You are allowed to rewind.
Yeah.
So, rewind and say it again. And then if you didn't say it right the second time, rewind it, do it again. And you might have to rewind it 15 times. And then the next time you do it, you might only have to rewind it 10 times.
Gets
Yeah.
easier.
Right? And then it
yeah.
just becomes a habit of how you really want to say things.
Yeah.
Right?
Or another thing that I do as well with clients is if they say, well, whatever, this always happens to me, and I say, okay, well, that may be true, and so what will you do differently? Like, well, okay, so just because my life is crazy and it feels that, but I choose to, whatever, start the
People,
morning
yeah,
and
they give a
plan my
lot of
day
their
and-
power away.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And also the other thing is I have to put out there is that when people think that you're spiritual and you're like, I've gone through a lot of my own healing, and I don't think we're ever 100% healed.
I think we all have. That's why
Right?
we
So
do
I've
what
gone
we do.
through- I go through a lot.
Big
I
time,
went through
yeah.
all the major stuff is pretty much done, but you
Yeah.
still grow and you still learn more and you still deal with things. And people think,
And new
oh,
stuff
so you're
comes up.
always happy and you're always whatever. And I'm like,
No.
no. I have emotions. Like I have the whole range of emotions. So I can get on a phone call and become angry about something. I can be frustrated. I can have road rage for a second.
Yeah.
But how long is that going to last?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's that moment and then I'm done. Like it's not like I'm carrying it around with me like luggage.
And
like,
how do you
know?
react to
Yeah,
it over time?
That's
you change.
that's a huge thing that relates to everything we're talking about. Your body is so much lighter, clearer, more vibrant because you've cleared all that stuff out. And now, a little more like a child, if something comes up, you express it and it's gone.
Right.
It's kind of like, well, we're all from the fitness background, but I always kind of liken that to the fitter you are, the faster you recover. Your recovery is a sign
Totally.
of your fitness, like
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
cardiovascular health. So sign of our overall health is also how quickly do we recover and get back on track. So that's kind of maybe a neat way of looking at it to say, okay, you know what, maybe it used to take me like months, or some people carry this stuff around for years, 20 years, and then they start to go, okay, I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm allowed to cry, I don't have to bottle it up.
It relates.
I can release and move
And
on.
how fast they can do it. So that way too, when they get fitter energetically, people come in here and they're like, they're sitting like this
Yeah.
and they're telling me their stuff and they're crying and they're upset and I can't go on and my life has been traumatized and all that stuff happens. Okay. And then like 3 or 4 sessions later, they walk in and their back is straight and they're smiling And how are you doing? Great. It's not just, okay. You know, it's I'm doing great. And they feel better, and they're talking to me about, you know, how things have changed and their boundaries have changed and people have noticed a change in them and whatever. And then by the 6th or 7th session, it's usually like 10 to 15, worst case scenario, maybe 20. And then they're like a completely different person. And watching them kind of come in and go away, you're like, wow. And some of these people have been going to therapy for years.
And that's an interesting point. So when people come, where should people start, right? Like that's always a question. We're talking about kind of Western versus holistic.
Well, because they don't. Well, let's look at it this way. It's
I think
because
you
a
feel
lot of
it
it's
out.
insurance too. Okay, so some stuff is covered by benefit packages and whatever, and we're not. Like, I mean, I'm not. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not.
No,
So
me neither.
people want to not pay for it. But you know what? It goes back to that thing: you get what you pay for.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's true.
That's what you're willing to invest in, for sure.
And there is again a place for that. But if they could work with us
Yeah.
instead of just come to me for the next 25 years and I'll help you, and here's some lithium. Like, instead of that, and I'm going to the extreme. I'm being a little bit extreme there. But it's just like if they would just say, do this, but you know what? Give this person a call. Let's work together.
Yeah.
And get you, get you
Integrative health.
faster.
Yeah.
And I do think
And
that
you'll
there
be-
are
yeah.
those practitioners out there that are, you know, it's kind of on us and like on each other to just find those people to work with, to go back and forth, so that our clients don't feel like they're sort of in the middle of this tug of war, like, oh, which way do I go? You know, like my doctor says this, but then they feel like they're cheating, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they go to their doctor and they're like, okay, but, you know, and then they're like
Yeah,
whispering.
don't tell my doctor that I come to you.
Yeah, you know, it should feel
You're like,
adulterous.
What? Can't we all just get
We're
along?
not having an affair here.
Anyways, we could go on about this too. Like, we have to do a part 2 on this one, on and on forever and ever.
Yeah, this is a biggie.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming out, guys. And
Thanks for having me.
what another great show, I got. Great show. Anyways, thanks for
Great
coming
show.
out to Reflections. If you have any questions, any comments, please subscribe. Please post them. Send us your messages. You can, all the information, how to reach us will be available. And thanks a lot. What can I
Thanks
say?
for having us. It was fun.
What can I say? Thank you so much. And hopefully we gave you a few aha moments, something to think about today. Talk to you later.
I'm shedding all the crap right now. I'm stepping in